Mr. Genuis, you have the floor for 5 minutes, please.
Here we go. Garnet Genuis. Okay.
Ms. Daly, your testimony today is explosive and brutal. You've compared this to the sponsorship scandal. You said that you've been muzzled and that you are at risk of being fired for your testimony. Why do you think that you are at risk of being fired by the government of Canada for telling the truth to this committee? What exactly is motivating those who don't want you to speak about grave problems in this government's contracting practices?
First thing I was informed of when I was met with my former Director General, she said, "Oh no, Diane, they only want to talk to you as a witness." Then she went on to make the intimidation. She had been contacting me on a regular basis via MS Teams, via email, via, setting up separate meetings to sort of stalk me is the way it felt. I continued to go to work because I had done nothing wrong. But my name began going out in the press from the October 26th meeting at OGO. So when she said that the Deputy Minister of PSPC and the President of the CBSA were asking that I attend this meeting, and she said she and my senior director could attend if I wanted, so I wouldn't feel like a fish in a crocodile's mouth or something to that effect. That they wanted to ask me if I was being intimidated, threatened in any way, etc., which I told her no, there was no threatening going on by the two individuals she was talking about, which were my two former bosses. I'd say quite. That would be Cameron McDonald, the Director General, yeah, and Antonio Utano, my senior director.
Just we're a bit tight for time, so just to kind of move our timeline a bit forward. So you're here today giving, I think, really explosive testimony before this accountability committee, and you're afraid that the things you say, the information you reveal, could result in you potentially being fired. What are the sort of present data points that are pointing you towards that conclusion?
Well, the two investigations. I wasn't supposed to be investigated. Now I'm being investigated by CBSA and Public Works. I have that in writing.
And fundamentally, that was the result, on your account, of you not giving the answers that they were looking for with respect to McDonald and Utano. They were looking in December, if I have the timeline right, December, for you to say certain things about them. You didn't, and subsequent to that, you were subject to investigation.
Yes. Let me be clear. The December 7th email I received from Michelle Lafleur said it was an optional meeting. I was seeking medical support for my cancer diagnosis. Let's be very clear. I let them know that I was seeking support. I gave them a very fulsome statement. It was optional. When I said this to my Director General and when I said this to Tom von Schoenberg, they were like, well, you have no choice. It's coming from the top. We have our marching orders.
Right. So here's the timeline as I see it. November the 7th, Mr. McDonald and Utano appear before the Government Operations Committee. They give very critical testimony of the government. They do not support the line that this committee had been given by other senior officials. Later that month, they find out that they were being investigated. And in November, part of the testimony that we heard was that Minister Mendicino had been looking for someone's head on a plate. That's a direct quote. That Minister Mendicino was looking for someone's head on a plate in relation to the ArriveCAN issue. So November 7th, they don't give the testimony that maybe other senior officials wanted them to, and then they are subject to further investigation, which they find out about later that month. You're ordered to go to an interview. You don't give the answers that maybe they were expecting, and then you find yourself also suspended, also under investigation. Then moving forward, we have the Auditor General's report, and the Auditor General's report says, among other things, in paragraph 156, that there was a case of GC Strategies being involved in developing requirements with officials. Christian Firth comes to this committee on March the 13th and refuses to say who that official was. But then on April 17th, he was ready to offer. or named.
Chair?
So
What's the point of
Just
order?
1 second, Mr. Genuis. I have a point of order from Ms. Shanahan.
Sorry to interrupt, Garnet, but you referred several times to this committee, people appearing before this committee, and I don't believe it was in front of this committee.
Yeah, that's more of a correction. I suppose, Ms. Genuis, you can take that under advisement, but I'll turn it back to you. You've got about 30 seconds, Ms. Genuis.
Yeah, that's not a point of order.
Thank you. I did misspeak that the March 13th testimony of Mr. Firth was before the Government Operations Committee. It wasn't before this committee. In any event, Ms. Daly, in this series of events, a number of people who have not supported the narrative that government officials and Minister Mendicino perhaps wanted are then subject to investigation. Why do you think Christian Firth specifically named you in the House on April 17th in relation to what the Auditor General said in paragraph 1.56? Why was the finger pointed at you?
Very good question. I don't know why Mr. Firth made that statement. I do not recall, and Mr. Firth knows this, that any conversation about IT requirements, but Mr. Firth would know that any IT requirements that I received, if I had received any, would have been forwarded to people who actually worked in IT because, again, I'm a procurement person. I have Geek Squad at home for residential help desk issues. I'm not the go-to for IT. Mr. Firth worked directly with CBSA IT staff on, I don't even know what they were doing. So let's be very clear. I could not and would not put together a package that didn't come from CBSA IT staff. I wouldn't know what to put in there.
Thank you
So
very
the
much.
point then is
Thank you
what
very
was
much.
behind him
Mr.
naming
Genuis,
you?
that is your time, Mr. Genuis. I'm sure we'll come back to you.